Commander Alice Wright stared at the strange object on her screen. It was metallic, with odd angles and glowing parts, unlike anything humans had ever built. After 20 years in the Earth Defense Fleet, she had seen many unusual things in space. But this was different. This was alien. "Confirm visual," she said to her bridge crew aboard the EDF Horizon. "And keep weapons ready." "Yes, Commander," said Lieutenant Sam Rogers. "The object is holding position near Jupiter's orbit. No signs of movement or aggression." Alice had been patrolling the outer solar system when their sensors detected the unknown craft. Now, as they approached, her heart beat faster. Humanity had wondered for centuries if they were alone in the universe. Today, they had their answer. "We're receiving a transmission," called out Communications Officer Lisa Frost, her voice shaking slightly. It's not in any known language, but the computer is working on it." The bridge fell silent as strange symbols appeared on the main screen, slowly transforming into English. The message was simple but world-changing. "Greetings, people of Earth. You are invited to join the Galactic Council." Within hours, the news spread across Earth. The alien probe contained detailed information about the Council, a coalition of 27 advanced species that govern most of the known galaxy. They offered knowledge, technology, and protection in exchange for Earth's participation. 1 week later, in Washington, D.C., world leaders gathered to discuss the invitation. The room was tense as military and civilian officials argued about how to proceed. "This could be a trick," warned Admiral John Miller, pounding his fist on the table. "They could be studying us before an attack." President Maria Gonzalez nodded. "I understand your concerns, Admiral, but we can't ignore this opportunity. If we reject their invitation, we might appear hostile." "Or weak," added General Eric Donovan. "Either way, we need to respond carefully." After 3 days of debate, the United Nations voted to accept the invitation. Ambassador Frank Carter, a respected diplomat with 30 years of experience, was chosen to represent Earth. On a clear morning in April, Frank stood on the launch pad beside the newly built spacecraft that would take him to the Council's headquarters. His family had begged him not to go, but someone had to be first. "We're making history today," said Dr. Linda Powell, the chief scientist who had studied the alien probe. "The technology they shared just to get you there is beyond anything we've developed." Frank nodded, looking up at the sleek ship. "Let's hope it's the beginning of a peaceful relationship." 2 months later, after traveling through what the aliens called the Fold Gate, Frank arrived at the Nexus, a massive space station that served as the Council headquarters. It was a sprawling structure that housed representatives from all 27 member species. "Welcome, human," said a tall, green-skinned being who introduced himself as Verex, the Viridian representative and current Council chairman. "We are pleased you accepted our invitation." Frank tried not to stare at the various aliens around him. Some had multiple limbs, others seemed made of shifting light, and a few didn't appear to have physical bodies at all. "Thank you for including us," Frank replied, following diplomatic protocol. "Earth is honored to learn from such advanced civilizations." Verex's expression was hard to read, but something in his tone made Frank uneasy. "Yes, your species is young, but potentially valuable." As Frank was shown to his quarters, he noticed the subtle glances exchanged between some of the alien representatives. It reminded him of wolves eyeing a rabbit. "Your living space has been adapted to human needs," explained his guide, a small blue alien named Plex. "Council meetings begin tomorrow. Rest well, Ambassador." Alone in his room, Frank sent a message back to Earth. "Arrived safely at the Nexus. First impressions mixed. Will proceed with caution." He didn't mention his growing feeling that humanity's place in this council might not be what they had hoped. Outside his window, the vast darkness of space stretched endlessly, and for the first time, Frank felt very small and very far from home. 6 months passed quickly on the Nexus. Frank Carter attended endless meetings, listened to debates in languages his translator struggled with, and tried to understand the complex politics of the Galactic Council. He smiled politely when alien representatives spoke down to him and remained calm when they dismissed Earth's concerns. "Humans are remarkably patient," said Verex during one session, his green skin shimmering under the council chamber lights. "Most new species demand technology transfers within weeks. We prefer to learn before we act," Frank replied carefully. In truth, Earth was desperate for advanced medical and energy technology, but he had been instructed to move slowly and observe. Lieutenant Susan Campbell, Frank's aide and security officer, wasn't as diplomatic. "They're stalling us," she whispered as they walked back to their quarters. 6 months, and they haven't approved a single technology request. Frank nodded slightly. "I've noticed. Keep your eyes open but stay friendly." That night, as Frank reviewed meeting notes, his tablet beeped with an unusual alert. A file had appeared in his secure folder, sent anonymously. He glanced around his room, wondering if this was some kind of test, then opened the document. His blood turned cold as he read. The file contained internal council communications about Earth, labeled Category 3 Acquisition Plan. He read line after line of clinical assessments of Earth's resources, population, and potential resistance. The Council didn't see humans as partners. They saw Earth as a target. One paragraph stood out. "Human adaptability and aggression make them unsuitable for standard processing. Recommend limited population retention for labor and military applications, with resource extraction to begin after pacification." Frank felt sick. He called Susan to his quarters immediately and showed her the document. "We need to tell Earth," she said, her face pale. "This isn't an invitation to join the Council. It's preparation for invasion. We need proof they actually plan to act on this," Frank replied. "This could be from a minority faction." The next day, Frank attended the Council session with new eyes. He noticed the predatory glances, the meaningful pauses when Earth was mentioned. During a break, he overheard 2 Viridian officials discussing deployment schedules to the Category 3 system. When the session ended, Frank approached Verex directly. "I'd like to discuss Earth's classification status," he said calmly, watching the alien's reaction. Verex's inner eyelids flickered, a sign of surprise Frank had learned to recognize. "Classification. I don't understand your concern, Ambassador." "Category 3, Frank said. "I believe that's how the Council has labeled Earth." The chamber grew quiet. Verex's expression hardened. "You've accessed restricted information, Ambassador. That's a serious violation of Council protocol." "Is it true?" Frank pressed, his Earth being assessed for resource extraction rather than membership. A large security officer approached. "Ambassador Carter, please come with me." Frank stood his ground. "Answer my question, Verex." "Humans are indeed valuable," Verex said coldly, "but not as equals. Your species has potential as a resource. The Council has managed many planets like yours before." Guards surrounded Frank. Susan moved to his side, hand near her concealed weapon. "Earth will never accept this," Frank said loudly, making sure other representatives could hear. "We came in peace, but we will defend ourselves." "Your primitive weapons are no match for Council technology," Verex replied. "Resistance would only increase casualties during the standard pacification process." Susan grabbed Frank's arm. "We need to leave. Now." As guards moved to block their exit, Susan created a diversion by overloading her tablet's power cell. In the confusion, she slipped away while Frank was detained. In his holding cell, Frank heard distant alarms. He hoped Susan had reached their ship. Everything depended on warning Earth before the Council could act. On the other side of the Nexus, Susan fought her way to their small vessel. She launched just as Viridian ships moved to block her escape, transmitting an emergency message toward Earth before her ship was hit by enemy fire. Susan's final transmission reached Earth 3 weeks later. Though damaged and incomplete, the message contained enough of the Council's plans to send shockwaves through every government on the planet. Emergency meetings were called. Military forces went on high alert. For the first time in history, all nations truly united under a single threat. At the Pentagon, General Eric Donovan paced the floor of the war room. Screens around him showed military leaders from Russia, China, India, and 30 other nations. "We have 90 days at most before their fleet arrives," he said. "Every satellite and telescope confirms multiple ships heading our way." "What about Ambassador Carter?" asked the British general. "We must assume he's been captured or killed," Donovan replied grimly. "Lieutenant Campbell's ship was destroyed after sending the warning." President Maria Gonzalez entered the room. Everyone stood. Her face showed the strain of sleepless nights since the news broke. "Be seated," she said. "Dr. Powell, what have you learned from the alien probe?" Dr. Linda Powell stepped forward. She had aged 10 years in the past week, leading the scientific team studying the alien technology. "We've made progress," she said. "The probe contains more information than we initially thought. Some of their weapon systems are based on principles we understand, just far more advanced. Can we adapt our own weapons to be effective?" asked the Chinese admiral. "Possibly," Linda replied. "Their ships rely heavily on energy shields rather than physical armor. We're working on ways to disrupt those shields." "We need more than possibilities," Donovan said. "We need miracles." In a lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, engineer Kyle Bennett hadn't slept in 3 days. His team was converting an asteroid mining platform into a weapon that might work against alien shields. "Try it again," he told his exhausted team. The test device hummed, then fired a pulse that completely disabled all electronics in the sealed chamber. Kyle smiled for the first time in days. "It works. Get me General Donovan." Across the globe, factories converted to building weapons and ships. Old enemies shared military secrets. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock. Humanity prepared for war with a unity never before seen. President Gonzalez addressed the United Nations in a speech broadcast to everyone on Earth. "Fellow citizens of Earth," she began, her voice steady despite her fear. "We face the greatest threat in human history. The Galactic Council sees us not as equals, but as resources to be harvested. They believe we are weak. They believe we will surrender." She paused, looking directly into the cameras. "They are wrong. Humanity will not bow to tyrants, whether they come from Earth or from the stars. We will fight. We will resist. And we will show these aliens that they have made a terrible mistake." The room erupted in applause and shouts of support. For once, the entire world stood as one. In space, automated defense platforms were hastily positioned throughout the solar system. Earth's small fleet of military spacecraft, never designed for true combat, were modified with experimental weapons. Civilian ships were armed and added to the defense force. Captain Olivia Santos looked out from the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, Earth's newest and most advanced destroyer. Though originally built for exploration, it now carried weapons that might make a difference. "Status report," she ordered. "All systems ready, Captain," replied her first officer. "The rest of the fleet is in position." Olivia nodded. She had 43 ships under her command, all that humanity could muster against an enemy with thousands of vessels and countless years of experience in space warfare. "The alien fleet has entered the outer solar system," reported the sensor officer. "Estimate contact in 12 hours. Olivia took a deep breath. "Send to all ships. This is not just a battle for territory. This is a fight for our right to exist. Remember what they planned for our people. Remember what they did to our ambassador. Show no mercy, because they will show none to Earth." As her message went out, the first alien ships appeared on long-range sensors. The battle for humanity's future was about to begin. Arch Commander Zix of the Viridian Fleet felt nothing but contempt as he studied the human defenses on his command screen. His massive flagship led 200 warships toward the inner solar system, with another 300 vessels following as support. This primitive species had barely reached their own moon, yet they dared to resist the Council. "Pathetic," he said to his officers. Their ships are practically toys. This will be over quickly. Should we offer surrender terms? Asked his second-in-command. No, Zix replied. Category 3 acquisitions don't get that option. Begin standard approach. Disable their communications first, then their defense platforms. As the Council fleet passed the orbit of Saturn, they detected no resistance. Earth's ships remained clustered near their home planet, apparently too afraid to venture out. They hide like prey, Zix laughed. Full speed ahead. On the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, Captain Olivia Santos watched the alien fleet approach. They're taking the bait, she said quietly. All ships maintain radio silence. Weapon platforms stay powered down until my signal. Her crew worked with grim determination. Everyone knew they were outnumbered and outgunned. Their only hope lay in surprise and the untested technology developed in the weeks since the warning. Enemy fleet entering the asteroid belt, reported the sensor officer. Olivia nodded. Perfect. Stand by. Engineer Kyle Bennett watched from the control center on Earth as the alien ships moved exactly where he wanted them. His network of stealth platforms had been hidden throughout the asteroid belt, positioned with help from mining ships that knew the region well. They don't see them, he whispered. Weapons charged and ready. Awaiting command. General Donovan gave the order. Execute Operation Thunderbolt. Kyle pressed the activation key. Throughout the asteroid belt, 200 stealth platforms suddenly powered up and fired simultaneously. Massive electromagnetic pulses washed over the alien ships, followed by precisely targeted energy beams striking shield generators. On his flagship, Arch Commander Zix was thrown to the floor as systems failed across his vessel. What's happening? He shouted. Restore power. Multiple systems down. An officer reported, panic in his voice. Shields at 30%. Half the fleet is reporting critical failures. Impossible, Zix roared. These primitives don't have this technology. Captain Olivia gave the order Earth had been waiting for. All ships attack. Target vessels with damaged shields. Don't hold back. Earth's small fleet accelerated toward the disorganized alien armada. Ships that had once been scientific explorers and cargo haulers now fired weapons designed by the best minds on the planet. What they lacked in power, they made up for in precision and surprise. Focus fire on the largest vessels, Olivia commanded. Disable their weapons first, engines second. The U.S. Defiant led the charge, its experimental plasma cannons tearing through the weakened shields of a Viridian cruiser. Other Earth ships followed, attacking in coordinated groups of 3, striking quickly then changing course to avoid return fire. In space, explosions bloomed as ships from both sides took damage. Earth lost 12 vessels in the first 10 minutes, but the Council fleet lost over 30. On his damaged flagship, Zix watched in disbelief as human ships darted between his larger vessels, causing havoc wherever they went. His neat formation had broken apart, with captains acting independently to save their ships. How are they doing this? He demanded. They're primitives. Sir, his tactical officer reported, they're using our own shield frequencies against us. They must have studied the technology from our probe. Zix slammed his fist down. Regroup the fleet. Call in the second wave. But the damage was done. The mighty Council fleet, expected to easily crush Earth's defenses, instead found itself in a real fight. Nearly a third of their ships were disabled or destroyed, and the humans showed no signs of slowing their attack. Captain Olivia knew they couldn't maintain this advantage for long. All ships execute secondary attack pattern. Hit and run only. Make every shot count. As the battle raged across the asteroid belt, news reached Earth. For the first time, in the face of alien aggression, humanity had drawn first blood. The Council had crossed the line, and now they were feeling humanity's fury. 2 weeks after the battle in the asteroid belt, Earth celebrated its first victory against the Galactic Council, but the joy was short-lived. Arch Commander Zix had retreated, regrouped, and changed tactics. Instead of attacking Earth directly, the alien fleet bypassed the main defenses and struck Mars. The Red Planet housed 12 research bases and a small colony of 800 scientists and support staff. They had minimal defenses. When the Council ships appeared in orbit, they had no chance. Dr. Paul Jackson watched in horror from the underground lab at Olympus Station as alien troops landed outside. As the head physicist for the Mars mission, he had been studying Martian soil samples when the attack began. "Everyone to the emergency bunkers," he ordered his team. "Grab only essential research. We have 10 minutes." But they never made it. Viridian soldiers blasted through the main doors, firing energy weapons that left smoking holes in walls and people alike. Paul and 3 others escaped through a maintenance tunnel, the screams of their colleagues echoing behind them. For 2 days, they hid in an unused storage chamber, listening through the station comms as the aliens methodically killed or captured everyone they found. Paul heard them discuss humans as if they were animals, specimens to be studied or resources to be used. On the 3rd day, Paul found a working computer terminal and accessed the station's cameras. What he saw sickened him. The aliens had set up equipment in the main lab, dissecting humans while they still lived. He recognized friends and coworkers on those tables. "We need to get this information to Earth," he told the others, his voice shaking with rage and grief. "And we need to learn everything we can about their technology while we're here." Using his knowledge of the station's systems, Paul created a hidden connection to monitor the aliens' communications and study their equipment. What he discovered gave him hope. The Viridian ships used a crystalline power core that became unstable when exposed to specific radio frequencies. "It's like hitting the right note to shatter a glass," he explained to Sarah, the engineer who had survived with him. "If we can broadcast this frequency during a battle, their ships would tear themselves apart." On Earth, General Donovan received Paul's transmission. 200 humans dead on Mars, with only a handful of survivors hiding in the ruins. The president called it the Mars Massacre, and citizens demanded justice. Captain Olivia Santos stood in the war room as military leaders planned their response. Her ship had survived the first battle, though with heavy damage. "We can't attack their Mars position directly," she said, pointing to the tactical display. "They've set up too many defenses, and we don't have the numbers." "Then what do you suggest, Captain?" asked General Donovan. "A stealth mission," she replied. "Get a small team to Mars to extract the survivors and the information they've gathered." Major Grade Turner volunteered immediately. As commander of Earth's Special Forces, he had been training his team for space operations since the crisis began. "My people can do this," he said confidently. "We've been working with the new stealth technology. The aliens won't see us coming." 48 hours later, Turner and his team of 12 elite soldiers boarded a modified shuttle. The ship had been coated with experimental materials that absorbed sensor scans instead of reflecting them. "Remember," Turner told his team during the final briefing, "this isn't just a rescue mission. According to Dr. Jackson, what he's discovered could change the course of the war. We get him and his data back to Earth at any cost." The shuttle launched quietly from the dark side of Earth's moon, using minimal power to avoid detection. As they accelerated toward Mars, Earth's remaining fleet prepared for another confrontation. This time, they would be the ones to cross the line. On Mars, Paul Jackson and the survivors watched the alien commanders through hacked security feeds. The Viridians were planning something big, a direct assault on Earth itself. Humanity had days, at most, before the next phase began. "Please hurry," Paul whispered to the empty room, not knowing help was already on the way. "We're running out of time." Major Grade Turner's stealth shuttle touched down on Mars 3 miles from Olympus Station. The red dust swirled around his team as they exited the craft, their advanced suits protecting them from both the environment and enemy sensors. "Move out," Greg ordered quietly. "Stay in formation. Remember, we're invisible as long as we move slowly." The 12 soldiers advanced across the Martian landscape, weapons ready. Their suits, developed using technology from the alien probe, bent light around them and absorbed heat signatures. To the Viridian sensors, they were simply not there. Inside Olympus Station, Dr. Paul Jackson felt the slight vibration of his hidden communicator. Someone was coming. He gathered the 3 surviving researchers. "We need to be ready to move," he whispered. "Either our people are here, or the aliens have found us." Lieutenant Diane Morgan led the first team into the station through a maintenance airlock. As Greg's second-in-command, she had trained for this mission for weeks. "Security systems bypassed," she reported. "We're in." Following the beacon signal, the soldiers moved through dark corridors, passing the bodies of dead scientists the aliens hadn't bothered to remove. Each face they saw hardened their resolve. Diane reached the hidden storage room first. "Dr. Jackson, Earth Defense Force, we're here to extract you." The door slid open, revealing 4 haggard survivors. Paul clutched a data drive in his hand like it was the most precious thing in the universe. "You made it," he said, his voice breaking. "We didn't think anyone would come." "We leave no one behind," Diane replied. "Is that the research on the Viridian weakness?" Paul nodded. "Everything we learned is here. This could win the war." Meanwhile, outside the station, Greg's team observed the main Viridian base. Dozens of ships were being prepared for launch, loaded with weapons. "They're getting ready for something big," Greg reported to Earth. "At least 30 capital ships. Target appears to be Earth." General Donovan's voice came through his secure channel. "Can you delay them?" Greg looked at the heavily guarded facility. "We'll try, but extraction of the survivors remains priority 1. Inside, Diane's team started moving the survivors toward the extraction point. They were halfway there when alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. "They've detected us," one of the soldiers said. "How is that possible?" Paul looked at his handheld scanner. "New ships arriving. Different alien species. They must have better sensors." Diane made a quick decision. Change of plans. "We go out the front door. Full assault mode." She activated her suit's combat systems, the stealth features giving way to armored plates and weapon mounts. Her team did the same. "Stay behind us," she told the survivors. "We'll get you home." Outside, Greg heard the alarms and saw Viridian troops rushing toward the station. "Diane, report." "Cover blown, sir. Making for alternate extraction point 3. We have the package and all survivors." Greg immediately split his team, half with me to provide distraction. The rest moved to support Diane. What happened next would be remembered in human history as the 6 minutes of fire. Greg's team attacked the Viridian launch pad, their advanced weapons causing confusion and chaos. The aliens, believing they faced a much larger force, redirected most of their troops away from Diane's escape route. Inside the station, Diane's team fought through waves of Viridian soldiers. They were outnumbered 10 to 1, but their Earth-modified weapons tore through alien armor. At the final junction before the exit, they were pinned down by heavy fire. Diane looked at Dr. Jackson and the precious data he carried. "Get them out," she told the other soldiers. "I'll hold this position." "We can't leave you," one of her team protested. Diane loaded her last power cell into her weapon. "This isn't a discussion. The data is all that matters. Earth needs it more than they need me." As the others retreated with the survivors, Diane stood her ground. She fought until her weapons overheated, then set her suit to overload. When the Viridians finally breached her position, the explosion took out 30 alien soldiers and collapsed the corridor. Outside, Greg's team linked up with the survivors and remaining soldiers. "Where's Diane?" he asked. The look on their faces told him everything. They boarded the shuttle in silence, lifting off as Viridian ships scrambled to pursue them. As they escaped Mars orbit, Dr. Paul Jackson clutched the data drive. "Your lieutenant," he said quietly to Greg. "She didn't die for nothing. This will work. I promise you." News of the Mars mission spread quickly across Earth. Lieutenant Diane Morgan became a symbol of human courage, her sacrifice inspiring millions. But more important was the data Dr. Paul Jackson brought back. Scientists and engineers worked day and night to build a device that could broadcast the frequency that would disrupt Viridian ship cores. Will it work against their entire fleet? General Donovan asked during the final briefing. Dr. Jackson nodded. The frequency affects all crystalline cores using their design. Their entire civilization depends on this technology. As Earth prepared for the coming battle, something unexpected happened. A small ship appeared at the edge of the solar system, broadcasting on an open channel. "This is Ambassador Krell of the Arcturian Collective," the message said. "We wish to speak with Earth's leaders about the Viridian threat." The Arcturians were one of the oldest species in the Council, but had largely remained neutral in galactic politics. Their sudden interest in Earth raised both hope and suspicion. President Maria Gonzalez decided to meet with them personally. The Arcturian ship was escorted to Earth by Captain Olivia's fleet, weapons locked on the visitors at all times. Ambassador Krell was tall and slender with silver skin that seemed to shimmer like flowing water. He bowed deeply to the human delegation. "We have watched your resistance with great interest," he said, his translator converting his musical language to English. "Few species have ever stood against the Viridians so effectively." "We're fighting for our survival," President Gonzalez replied. "Why have you come?" "Because you are not alone in your struggle," Krell explained. "Many species in the Council have suffered under Viridian rule. They present themselves as leaders, but they are conquerors. They have classified dozens of worlds as resources rather than equals." This confirmed what Frank Carter had discovered months ago. The Council wasn't a coalition of equals. It was an empire with the Viridians at its head. "What do you want from us?" General Donovan asked bluntly. "An alliance," Krell replied. "The Arcturians have advanced technology we can share. Other species are prepared to join us. The Mars attack has created division within the Council. Many believe the Viridians went too far." Ambassador Layla Johnson, who had been appointed after Frank's capture, studied the alien carefully. "How do we know this isn't a trap?" Krell touched a device on his wrist. A hologram appeared showing Frank Carter, alive but held in a cell. "Your ambassador is being held on the Viridian command ship," Krell said. "We have operatives who can help free him during the coming battle." Layla stepped forward. "What battle?" "The Viridians are planning to use a planet-killer weapon against Earth," Krell explained. "It is being brought to your system now. This goes against all Council laws, but the Viridian leadership is desperate after your victories." The room fell silent as the humans absorbed this information. A weapon that could destroy an entire planet was beyond anything they had prepared for. "Why would you help us?" President Gonzalez finally asked. "Because the Viridians must be stopped," Krell replied simply. "And because your species has shown something rare in this galaxy, the courage to fight impossible odds. Many of us believe humans could help create a better council, one truly based on equality." Over the next 3 days, more alien ships arrived, representatives from 7 species who had secretly opposed Viridian rule for centuries. Each brought technology, information, and ships to aid Earth's defense. Dr. Nancy Weber, Earth's leading physicist, worked with the alien scientists to enhance the frequency weapon Dr. Jackson had discovered. What had been a defensive tool became something far more powerful. As the combined fleet prepared for battle, Ambassador Layla addressed the alien representatives. "For too long, the Viridians have used the Council to control and exploit others," she said. "Today that ends. Today, we fight not just for Earth, but for a new beginning for all our peoples." The aliens, once enemies by association, cheered her words. The alliance was formed, and the final battle was about to begin near the orbit of Neptune, where the Viridian fleet had been detected approaching with their planet-killer weapon. The combined fleet waited in the shadow of Neptune. Earth ships flew alongside vessels from 7 alien races, all united against the Viridian threat. Captain Olivia Santos stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, now reinforced with Arcturian technology. "Enemy fleet detected," her sensor officer announced. 500 ships with a massive vessel at the center. That must be the planet killer. Olivia opened a channel to all Allied ships. This is it. Remember what we're fighting for. Not just Earth, but freedom for all species under Viridian control. Aboard the Lid Viridian ship, Arch Commander Zix watched the Allied fleet with rage. Traitors, he hissed, seeing the ships from other council races. They dare stand with these primitives. The planet killer requires 10 more minutes to fully charge, his weapons officer reported. Then we will give it time, Zix ordered. All ships, engage the enemy. Keep them away from the planet killer at all costs. The space around Neptune erupted in battle. Energy weapons flashed, missiles streaked between ships, and fighters darted through the chaos. Earth's ships fought with a fury that surprised even their new allies. Commander Ryan Clark led a small team on a stealth mission through the battle. His Modify shuttle, carrying a squad of Earth's best soldiers and 2 Arcturian technicians, slipped past the Viridian defenses. Our target is the flagship, Ryan told his team. We need to rescue Ambassador Carter and plant the frequency device. On Earth, Dr. Nancy Weber monitored the battle from mission control. The frequency device was her creation, a modified version of Dr. Jackson's discovery. But she had added something more, a wormhole generator that could redirect the planet killer's energy. If this works, she explained to President Gonzalez, we won't just disable their fleet. We'll turn their weapon against them. The president nodded grimly. Do what you must. Ryan's team docked with the Viridian flagship using technology that fooled the security systems. They moved through the massive ship, following directions from the Arcturian allies. The prison section is 2 levels down, whispered one of the Arcturians. The command center is 3 levels up. We must split up. Ryan divided his team. Half with me to free the ambassador. The rest plant the device near their main power core. The rescue team found Frank Carter in a high-security cell. The ambassador looked thin and beaten, but his eyes still showed determination. Took you long enough, he said with a weak smile as they broke open his cell. Earth doesn't abandon its people, Ryan replied, helping him stand. Meanwhile, the other team reached the power core, but faced heavy resistance. 2 human soldiers fell in the firefight. The remaining team members fought desperately to reach their target. In space, the battle reached its peak. Earth ships used the tactics they had developed, striking fast and retreating, while their alien allies provided heavier firepower. The Viridian fleet, still numerically superior, pushed closer to victory with each passing minute. Planet killer at 90% charge, reported Olivia's tactical officer. Time to activation, 2 minutes. At that moment, Ryan's team activated the frequency device. Throughout the Viridian fleet, crystalline power cores began to vibrate, then crack. Ships lost power, weapons failed, and shields collapsed. Dr. Weber activated the wormhole generator. A swirling portal opened in space directly in front of the planet killer. Now, she commanded. The planet killer fired its devastating beam, unable to stop the automated sequence. But instead of heading toward Earth, the energy disappeared into the wormhole. Aboard the Viridian flagship, Arch Commander Zix watched in horror as a second wormhole opened near his homeworld. The beam emerged, striking the Viridian home planet with the very weapon they had created to destroy Earth. Ryan and his team, with Ambassador Frank Carter, escaped the crippled flagship as systems failed around them. They watched through the shuttle viewports as the Viridian fleet fell into chaos. The battle ended not with Earth's destruction, but with humanity's greatest victory. The Viridian leadership surrendered, and the Galactic Council collapsed under the weight of its own corruption. 1 month later, representatives from 30 species gathered on Earth to sign the charter for a new galactic alliance, one built on true equality and mutual respect. Frank Carter, now leading Earth's diplomatic course, spoke for humanity. We came to the stars hoping for friendship, he said. Instead, we found tyranny. But through our fury, we forged something better, a true alliance of equals. Let this be remembered not as a day of vengeance, but as the beginning of justice for all sentient beings. Across the galaxy, the story spread. Never underestimate the species that turned fury into freedom.